Well, it took us a guy from L.A., our man Lane, to come up with "Come to the Sip." So I'm on his bandwagon right now. So I enjoyed that. So it's good. So I'll probably be wearing some of those on the sideline like they're doing in football. Appreciate you guys being with us. I kind of will start about our recruiting class that we had. These guys have been committed for a while, and but you're always anxious until you get the official paperwork, and kind of started out with Devontae Ruffin, who we've been involved with for a long time since we've gotten the job at Ole Miss, dynamic point guard from Jackson, and terrific player, great family. And James White, who we think's really a guy that's got a great chance. Maybe some people think he may be the best scorer in the state of Georgia, 6'5", very skilled. Athletic, another guy loves basketball. He's already gained probably about 10 or 12 pounds just during this COVID. And then Grant Slatton, I've known Grant for a long time. One of the best shooters, I think, in this whole class, 6'6", 200 pounds, extremely athletic. Scored a bunch of points at Sparta High School in Tennessee. And so just three great families, great support systems, and we all think they're going to be terrific here.
Nate, start us off.
Is there ever any nervousness or anxiousness about Deshaun coming down the stretch?
It just wasn't just because we just stayed in touch with him just every single day, and Win Case did a great job there. And when he committed to us in the summer, he just is his mom, and just he loved Ole Miss. He wanted to be close to home. He loves the fact that 2 hours and 15 minutes. He can be right here, and the family can be here. He won a state championship in our building, so he had a great, I think, 35, and he played great. So we're always anxious. Don't get me wrong, but it was just never any doubt this is where he was going to be, and we just thought for sure he'd sign on the first day.
What does it mean for a program in general to have a guy, highest rated recruit in program history, and I guess if you just pull up the top 50 or whatever, and kids will see Ole Miss there beside one of those names. What does that mean for a program?
Yeah, it means a great deal for universities like us that are, we have swung for the fences, and we've gotten beaten in some high-level recruiting battles, and that's what's going to happen. We've won our share. Matthew Morrell, obviously, the year before, like the 35th, 36th best player in the country from Memphis, and obviously Deshaun. Because if he'd have gotten a chance to be on the circuit again, this summer, he's just one of those. He may be as good, maybe the most electrifying scorer in the whole class. He's just something what he can do. And it's one of them guys that you just can't take your eyes off of when you start watching him play. And so I had the people and other really good players, even the class of 22, they all know him. They all respect him. They've all played against him or with him. And so I think he can help you down the road recruiting-wise.
We'll go to Joe.
Yeah, Coach, sticking with Deshaun, you mentioned that, you guys were on him, when you got the job. What did you see from him early on in the recruiting process? And, why was he a priority even when he was a youngster coming up, learning how to play?
Yeah, Joe, when I first got the job, it was in April recruiting, and he was playing in a 16 and under game, and he just finished the 9th grade. And I watched him for about 2 minutes. And my assistant, Win Case, and I think Win was maybe another. I said, Win, I called you to come over and watch this kid play. It was a young team from Mississippi. It was just something about him. He was just small, probably no telling what he weighed, probably 140 pounds or something. But just the way he moved, how tough he was, he was just dynamic. Like he said, even at that age, just one of those electrifying guys that I enjoyed. And so we got back and offered him on the spot, and then just from there just started the recruiting process started.
Go to Ben.
And a quick
Sorry,
follow-up
Joe.
to that. What was it like seeing him grow as a player, and then having the front row seat to see him play, a big game, state championship, and
yeah,
that situation?
It is. When you start recruiting a kid, I say, gosh, you've offered him when he just finished his 9th grade year. But the day does come, when these guys start going to college, and with great players like Deshaun, a lot of time the process needs to start at that age. And it really was. It's fun. Him, Joe, he's got this great personality, and I was looking at his face on your your Twitter that you posted, and he looks like he's about 15 years old still. He's got that baby face and he's small, and but it's been fun just to watch him grow as a person. His mother Twyla is just terrific. Then obviously David Sanders, is a great player here at Ole Miss, and David's one of the very best coaches in our state, so he's getting taught and coached at a high level all the time. So. And he's just going to continue. Boy, his ceiling is still so high, and he'll come in. You've seen him. One thing he doesn't lack is confidence, and he thinks he belongs in every game against every player, and that's what you got to have in our league.
Ben, go ahead.
Yeah, Kermit, that's 3 guards in the fall. What's the approach to the spring then, especially considering, Romello could be gone, Hadim could be gone. Is it just about roster evaluation and kind of seeing where you are in the spring?
Yeah, it is. I think obviously it's going to be front court players, forwards, bigs that can play. We're kind of involved with one more high-level guy, and we're waiting. We'll see what happens. But after that, Ben, it's going to be, transfer market. The one-year transfer is going to pass in January, and so that's going to be the new thing in college basketball, and it's going to go forever. And so you hate to say it, but it's the reality that everybody's going to be evaluating everybody's roster. That's just where it's gotten to. It's going to be football and it's going to be basketball. And if you're not doing that, then you're behind the times. So everybody's going to be evaluating all rosters, and ours will be front court. We're involved with a really good junior college big that won't make his mind up in the early period, but in the spring. But that really is front court to be the priority.
Nick, go ahead.
Kermit, you brought up Deshaun this year and Matthew Morrell last year, just back-to-back years getting the highest-rated recruit in school history. Was this something you had as a priority when you got here to kind of change the way Ole Miss recruited? And if so, what have you done to kind of make Ole Miss more of an attractive destination for those top recruits?
Yeah, and Andy had some really good players, and but it was just the fact of even like Austin Crowley, was a 4-star recruit and was a highly recruited player, and I know we had to get him from Vanderbilt after the coaching change, but really kind of 3 guys from from our area. I just think this. I think number one, you got to have a great product to sell, and we do at Ole Miss. You got to have facilities to sell, and we've got some of the very best in college basketball, and maybe the Pavilion is the best arena in our league. Not the biggest, but the best. And then you got to have a staff, number one, that are very good and believes in the product that they sell. And we've got that. I've got 3 great assistants. I got a whole staff full of really good assistant coaches. And I think it's how do you package it? And you start packaging Ole Miss and facilities and education. Now, if you want a big city, we're not your spot. But if you want a great college environment that people care about their university, and then the biggest thing too, guys, I can't tell you how our players sell it. And we got guys from L.A., Chicago, Harlem, Orlando, everywhere, L.A., and they all love Ole Miss. They enjoy Oxford. I mean, they just enjoy going to school here. So you get a kid that has a relationship with our players, I mean, they'll convince you that it's a great, great place to go to school.
Go to John.
Kermit, obviously, the season's starting in less than 2 weeks. How does kind of everything stand? How your guys doing? And obviously, in an unconventional season, how's everyone kind of holding up?
Yeah, John, we're all knock on wood about COVID, and we all had our tests, and everybody was negative. And you hold your breath. Now we're testing on Tuesday, so like Wednesday morning or Tuesday night, you're kind of holding your breath from the call from the trainer, worried about your players, worried about yourself. When Tom Izzo can get it, you never know. You try to be as careful as you can, but then sometimes we forget about just normal basketball injuries. Like we had Romello and Hadim C. Our 2 starting kind of bigs, at that spot collided. They both had concussions. Romello just came back. Full contact yesterday for the first time. Hadim C. will be out probably until Monday. We've had Devontae Shooter kind of got nicked up with a back injury, and he didn't participate in our Pavilion Madness last night. It's minor, and it's great that they will be back. So you have to deal not only with COVID, but obviously just the regular basketball things that you go through. Our team has been really competitive. We've had really, really good, tough practices. I like our team. I like coming to the gym with our team. I know the league is going to be really, really good. But I think over the next under 2 weeks, I think everybody in college basketball is trying to get their practices down to a hour 45, hour 30. I mean, you got to get your legs back and be fresh. But I know one thing: we're really looking forward to the Justin Reed Classic that Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. And it's going to be, we don't have any exhibitions or scrimmages, so it's going to be evaluation and trying to get guys minutes and to watch those guys play in those 3 games.
And then a quick follow-up to that was talking about a guy like KJ. What are kind of your expectations for him this year, and how do you want to kind of see his game develop?
Well, he's got to become a more confident shooter. He's got to be a guy that goes to next play. He needs to be a guy that is thought at the end of the year as being an all-league SEC forward. That's the jump he's got to make, or that he needs to make. But he's got to be a guy that can go to the next play. He can't let one call affect the next play. He can't let one shot affect the next shot because he's a good rebounder. He's very skilled for his size. He's got great experience in our league. But you're right, kind of that next step to be an all-league player is the next one for him.
Neil, go ahead.
Hey, Kermit, this really isn't about your program necessarily, just the sport in general. With these contact tracing rules the way they are right now, you see it with football this weekend. How difficult is it going to be to get most of a season in?
Yeah, Neil, it can be difficult, and I just think that these setbacks are coming. I know it's been a rough week for SEC football because you can imagine they were on kind of smooth sailing for a long period of time, and we talk to our guys all the time, and just what is social tracing? I mean, 6 feet apart for 15 straight minutes. Now there's social tracing. Everybody's going to have these chips, and the social tracing during chips. If there's a game and somebody from Kentucky tests and we're on the same floor as Kentucky, this chip can give you data were they 15 minutes apart, a close proximity. There's even been thinking about, Neil, for the first free throw, if it's a 2-shot foul, not to bring your guys to the line. But the second time, what is ways, so you think about in football, it's probably those linemen that lean on each other all the time. In basketball, it's going to be probably those 2 centers. They just kind of come to each other all the time. They lean on each other to more physical play. But all you can do is control your team. And all we talk about, guys, if you ride in a car, you cannot ride in a car with a guy for over 15 minutes. You understand that. If you're going to play a Nintendo game or a 2K game, whatever you're going to play, Fortnite or whatever you play, you're going to have to be 10 feet apart. I mean, those are things that you can control. And parties, all the different things outside. So sometimes maybe in competition you can't control it, but those day-to-day things, all we talk about is that. And so it's something we'll just keep trying to emphasize. Number 2, Neil, is depth is going to be a huge factor in this SEC race, not just for injuries, for COVID. Guys who can play multiple positions are going to. We've seen Lane move offensive guys to defensive guys. I mean, a guy who can play the 2, 3, 4, and a 5. Can your 4-man play the 2? I mean, all those kind of things. It's just kind of what we're going to be up against during the season.
Do you travel differently when you guys
Yes.
get around and travel? Do you put 1 in a room instead of 2 in a room? I mean, how do you? Some of the stuff I know you can't avoid it. Do you travel to the arena at a different time? That kind of stuff.
Yeah, we're just, it's going to be more bus trips, and try to socially distance. It's going to be limited travel parties, not as many managers, not a lot of the guys that will be going on trips that used to. I think it will be 2 to a room. Obviously, I've just kind of watched video of pregame meals with Ole Miss. It's seen, they'll have social distancing, but there's still guys at the tables. There's obviously the arenas are going to be set up differently. Obviously, we're going to be on no commercial flights. I mean, early, like we're busing to Middle Tennessee, and then we're busing to Dayton after we play them, and kind of stay an extra day in Murfreesboro. Would have normally come back and chartered to Dayton. I think we will charter back from Dayton, but a lot of these, games that are, in proximity, probably be busing and try to stay out of, different things that we can do, obviously from a cost standpoint and then from a COVID standpoint. The things that worry are hotels. I mean, just picking up a channel changer in your room. I mean, it's just different things. The person that waits on you at the table. I know these people are, different precautions. In my world, and I mentioned to a couple SEC coaches, I didn't really bring it up to league office. I wish we'd have gone all SEC games personally. I wish we'd have played a 26-game SEC schedule and just play a round robin. And terrible for head coaches, great for fans and media and the SEC network. But just because of dealing with all of these make-up different games, Neil, at least you've got people on the same page that you can try to get through it together.
Well, how was that received when you pitched a 26-game SEC schedule?
They didn't like that very much at all, okay? And I didn't pitch it up in front of the whole group. I think Cal wanted to play his Louisville game. I don't know if Cal wanted to play his Louisville game or not. We didn't ask Jerry at this year at a particular time. But I think they wanted their national games. And, yeah, and like I said, it's not really good for head coaches in our records, but probably for fan base, SEC network. But I know the SEC, and our people have done a great job, like everybody in the SEC. Like if our MTE event, Jackson State, Arkansas State, Central Arkansas, they're going to have to take this test on a Tuesday and everybody be negative before they get on the bus and come. And then we're paying for their testing while they're here, Tuesday, Wednesday, Thursday. So that's our cost. So the guarantees that we're paying them, Neil, are not as high, okay? But a lot of that other things is based on we're going to be paying for COVID testing for these non-conference teams that maybe don't have the same testing as we do at Ole Miss and up to SEC protocol.
Go to Jerry.
Hey, Jerry, I think you're muted.
Yeah. There you go.
Sorry. I wanted to ask you about the fluid rosters and the increased transfers, and as you say, people evaluating other rosters. What challenge does that bring to a coach to have to mesh a lot of new players into a unit year after year after year?
Yeah, I just think this, Jerry, it's like, the seniors everybody getting extra years. So you start looking at rosters, how young everybody is right now, around the country. And like we have 4 seniors on our team, Hadeem C., Romello White, Devontae Shuler, Demencio Vaughn. They all can come back the next year. And we would have 17 scholarships instead of 13. So that's something that we're all going to have to manage. I think it was a great rule because I think what everybody was worried about, it's the right thing to do with the kid. But all of a sudden, if games start getting canceled in football or basketball, who's going to opt out? Is it too many for a redshirt year? Can I not get it back? I'm going to sit out this season. So I think that put everybody at ease. But, Jerry, I'm telling you, people really don't understand, Jerry, the world that's fixing to happen in college athletics over the next 3 or 4 years. And just the turnover. And it's not just going to be the star quarterback at Alabama, the backup quarterback. It's going to be the backup defensive lineman. It's going to be the backup center. It's going to be the guy that's at Alabama or Ole Miss that's, the 7th or 8th man. So it's going to be a lot of turnover, and everybody's just going to have to be fluid with it. And it's just going to be a different day and time. You put that in there, Jerry, with the name, image, and likeness, I mean, it is going to be a different world. It's going to be a pro world in a college amateur market, and that's just where we're at.
Does a guy like John Calipari have an advantage since he's been meshing new rosters year to year for a decade now?
I've always talked about, the job that Cal has done with his team. I think you and I maybe had a conversation, just the young players and having a whole new team every single time. It's almost going to have to draw back, Jerry, my days when I was a junior college coach, and you would just, it'd have 8 or 9, 10 new guys every single time. And so, yeah, we're going to have to get used to it. But I think we're going to have to do a great job with the players in your program, re-recruit your players all the time. And I just think that's going to be a big thing, that you're going to have people that obviously they love the University of Kentucky. They love Ole Miss, and they're going to be here, And so our assistant coaches, we're all going to have to keep doing just a better job to re-recruit your players and try to sell them on the fact of keep growing in a program and, in just the transfer market, but it's going to happen.
Parrish?
Kermit, do you have an estimate on game times for your Justin Reed Classic?
Yeah, I think so, Parrish. We were hoping to go 3 o'clock all 3 days, on Wednesday, Thursday, and Friday. The women on Wednesday, I hope I'm not speaking out of turn, I think is going to maybe play the late game maybe at 6 o'clock. So what we're hoping, Parrish, is that the first game of the Justin Reed Classic will start at noon, and then our games will start at 3. Now, there is in these classics, there's kind of a wipe down period, of sanitizing seats and the floor and different things. So sometimes that's about 20 or 25 extra minutes. Used to in these classics or NCAA tournament game, the handshakes, boom, and here comes the next game. So it's going to be a little period of time between. So I would think 3, no later than 3:30. But we're going to stay with the same game times all 3 days.
How has Deshaun Ruffin overcome his size to be an explosive scorer?
I'll tell you one thing. If you go watch him play, he can shoot it. He's strong, but he looks like a running back. He's built. He's real physical. He can take hits. He can get his shoulder by you. He's very athletic at the rim, and he's just about as. I don't know if there's another guy in the whole 21 class that is that athletic with the ball. In his whole career, all he's done in Mississippi is face double teams, triple teams. People just running at him from every different direction. And, he's one of those little guys. I know it's cliche-ish, but he has kind of a chip on his shoulder. And you remember Stephon Moody, small guy, but just had this compact game that was so athletic, could get the spots, could shoot it with range. Little guys will struggle, they can't shoot, but Deshaun, he can really shoot with range.
Nate, go ahead.
Coach, we're only about 2 weeks away from the start of the season. What are your expectations for this team? Like, how high of a ceiling do you think you guys have?
I think that, obviously we want to be right in the mix to win an SEC regular season championship, and that's our goal. And is it high? Sure is, but, that's exactly what we're going to try to do. Is it going to be difficult? No question. We'll probably be picked anywhere from 9th, 8th, 7th, 6th, whatever that it may be. But I do think that we've got depth. I like our team. But it's the SEC is a league that you guys all know. You can finish first or you can finish 8th. And you can finish 8th or 9th and be an NCAA tournament team and still get to a Sweet 16 or a Final Four. I just think the league this year is probably the most depth. I think I'd follow it that probably the league has the possibility of more NCAA tournament teams than maybe it's ever had. And you're going to see a team that's maybe can be picked 11th or 12th, but can definitely be an NCAA tournament team and win a game. So the competition is going to be fierce, but we're just going to keep working. And I like our non-conference schedule. I like that we're at home early, and just get a chance to hopefully get some experience under our belt. And but we hope to what you liked. Is to be in the last 2 or 3 weeks of this year and playing meaningful games that are relevant to trying to win a championship.
Go back to Ben.
Yeah, Kermit, y'all appealed and actually won Robert Allen's eligibility question. So getting him and having him available to you, described him as a Kermit Davis player. What can he provide, and what has he brought so far as practice?
He's one of the toughest guys that you'll coach. His motor is just nonstop. He's 6'8", 230. He just pursues every rebound, plays with detail. He just eat up with basketball. He's in the gym all the time. He stops by and he wants to watch tape all the time. He's just that kind of guy. And it was really kind of, with Hadim and Romello being out for both 8 or 10 days. Robert, he just almost got new life. And I hope he doesn't mind me saying it, but when I called him, he just kind of was crying uncontrollably. He was so happy, and he couldn't wait to call his mom and his dad. And so he's a guy that's going to be built for how we play, and he's going to see a lot of playing time because it's just hard to keep a guy like that off the floor.
Go ahead, Joe.
Yeah, Coach, I know you're mentioning the Justin Reed Classic, and I guess talking about how that came together, and specifically Jackson State getting involved. I don't think they've been on the schedule for a long time. And of course, Reed used to play for Wayne Brent, being assistant at Ole Miss. What's it like just having Jackson State back in the mix, and Coach coming back to Oxford to kick off the season?
Yeah, it's just I have a lot of respect for Wayne, and obviously I saw those high school teams play when he had those great high school teams there at Provine, and I called Keith. I said, Keith, we need to name the tournament. And Keith just right off the bat, so let's call it Justin Reed Classic. I said, that is perfect, And then so with that, we wanted to get an in-state team. We really thought in our classic we needed to get teams that were close, And so obviously we named it Justin Reed. I said, God, it'd be perfect to get Wayne, who was his high school coach, and obviously was an assistant coach on some great teams for Rod at Ole Miss. So that was a great fit. And and you can't find a better man to name it after than Justin Reed. I mean, he may be one of the most popular players to ever play at this school. Not only did he impact winning, but how he handled his business. He got a great family, and so we're really excited about that. But really, when the first time I asked Keith, that was the first name that hit his tongue, and that was great, and it was just perfect.